It's Curtis, Luke. I'm Luke.
You're Luke. I'm Curtis.
Should we introduce each other? This is Curtis Looper.
This is Luke.
There it is. That was like a
get
you were a play on my history there. No, but we do this podcast called Be Good People. Thank you for stumbling into it and finding us. If you listen to us regularly, thank you for that.
Yeah.
We've got more people that listen to our podcast than watch it on YouTube.
I hear that's the trend.
That is the trend, I think. And, I was talking to buddy of mine that watches our podcast on YouTube, and I was like, oh, are you listening to it or watching on YouTube? And he goes, I can listen to it? I was like, yeah.
That would be way easier.
Yeah. That's what you can do. He's like, oh, that's great. And
Yeah.
but we broadcast through Podbean, and you can download the Podbean app and find us, or just go to Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever you get Spotify.
We're everywhere.
Especially Spotify.
Spotify is a great place.
Yeah, Spotify is amazing. We love you guys. No, but you can go anywhere you listen to podcasts, or you can get our little RSS feed and listen to it on your phone and whatever your podcast app is. I mean, it's really accessible and easy to get to. So
the RSS feed especially. Yeah, we've got that link everywhere.
Yeah, it's pretty much everywhere. So, but thank you for joining us in this conversation. And we went through a book all the way through it.
Talking with Strangers.
Talking with Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell, and then we kind of last week we kind of went off the cuff and. Which is fun.
We got a pretty good response from it too.
Yeah.
Which I
and
mean,
good conversation too.
Yeah,
I feel like that was I don't know. It was almost like an exhale. You know what I mean?
It was very well
so
needed. Yeah, and it was heavy, and we're in a heavy time, so it was just like, hey, let's rant a little bit.
Yeah. But what we love, and we've talked about this before off camera. What we love, we're both readers, and we listen to on Audible, a lot too.
Yeah.
But we love getting into books, and we like listening to other people and what they're saying. And like when we say "be good people," that's not us saying like we have all the answers.
Right.
We're learning it.
Yeah.
And we're listening to other people that have done research or had an experience or lived it, and so we've found that like. Sharing the books that we're reading with you is like us saying, look what these guys are saying.
Yeah. We're definitely not preachers, but at the same time, we realize that things could be better. So instead of like wallowing in the badness of everything or whatever you want to call it, like let's find a solution. And that seems to be reading from people who are smarter than you and applying it to your life. So,
and you picked out this book. So we're starting one today.
Yeah.
Tell us about
all that to say this new book. You sent me the Talking with Strangers, and then later I sent you this one. It's Why We're Polarized by Ezra Klein, and he's a political journalist. He rose to popularity pretty quickly. Like age 23, he had a big following on his blog, and then he moved on to I think the Washington Post, and then he eventually created his own news, whatever you want to call it, Vox.com.
Yeah,
that's.
I did not realize that.
Yeah. So but he's a self-described progressive, but the reason he became so popular so quickly is because he was able to process all this data, from all these polling institutes and refine it in a way that normal people can understand. And he's got his opinions in there a little bit, but largely he'll give it to you straight.
Yeah.
And even in this book, I tend to lean the same way he does, but he checks that quite a few times.
Yeah.
I was wrong here.
Well, I'll be honest with you. So I don't necessarily lean the way he does all the time.
Yeah.
But reading his book, I wouldn't say that he was being unfair.
No.
To anything that
he takes his stripes just as well as he gives them. Yeah, well, not even gives them out. He just says, "Here's the stripes to be had."
What's going on.
Yeah. So as the title would suggest, it's we're obviously polarized in our political system right now. You've got Republicans and you've got Democrats.
Yep.
And you've got a few people who vote independent from time to time.
Yep.
But largely it's inconsequential to who becomes.
Oh, the number of
We've got two ruling parties right now. No other party has really much of a say in anything at the time. Yep. But he is wanting to address that this is not how it's always been. We're definitely in a new era.
You say that, and he says that. It feels like it's always been that way because I was born in 1980.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's...
Well, that's about the time
that
he says it started going that way. He says we're kind of in a loop where polarizing gains traction with people. So then the media, the political actors, your representatives say more polarizing things, which then in turn make people more polarized. And so then your system is becoming more polarized.
And that happens, you dropped it. We're in like episode, I don't know, 19 or something now, 20, somewhere around there. But at our very first episodes is when you had originally tossed this book my way. And
if you've been watching for a while and we're reading through this, you're like, dude, you just copied him a lot. I'm like, yeah, kind of.
But you made reference to in those early podcasts for sure, because I think you were reading it. It was hot on your mind. This team sports mentality.
Yeah,
and I think that
comes straight from this.
Yeah, and that's where you were talking. I don't know if it's in the chapter that we're kind of discussing today, but
I think it was in the introduction.
Yeah, I think it was. But that's kind of what we're talking about is like, things win. People love team competitions. They love to root for somebody who's winning.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe why it loops like it does.
Yeah.
And we get more, and I don't want to work ahead, but we're kind of getting more polarized because it feels good to cheer for a winner.
Yeah.
It even sometimes feels good to cheer for somebody who's a underdog. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't normally cheer for the guy that comes in 15th every time.
Right. Yeah.
I just love that team that's number 15. You
right.
know what I mean?
So, like, now they call them, like, bandwagon fans, with, like, the Patriots. It used to be the Patriots or...
America's team. Come on.
No, they're not.
In the 90s? Come on.
That's the Cowboys.
I know what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
I was giving you America's team in the 90s.
I said the Patriots.
I know, and then I was saying
okay.
also.
I didn't hear. I didn't hear the also. I was like,
you didn't
what
hear
did you
just
say?
I mean, we can check the edit.
But I mean, and he gets into that, and he starts off the book with saying, "Here's some evidence that it wasn't always like this." And I'll just read through a little bit. The Democrats, as his first chapter is like Democrats becoming liberals and Republicans becoming conservatives, and he starts with this this quote that from William Borah. He was a Republican elected official, and he was quoted as saying, "Anyone who can carry a Republican primary is a Republican, no matter what he believes. You don't have to be conservative. You don't have to believe in free trade or." Have a cap on free trade, whatever it is. Just the fact that you want a primary, you're a Republican.
This caused me to audibly go, hold up.
Yeah.
Like, that's what that did. Because I was like, wait a minute, no. If you're a Republican, you're conservative. If you're a Democrat, you're a socialist. Liberal.
Yeah.
Horrible
Not
person.
libertarian. Liberal.
Not libertarian, Libertarians are like in a like a branch on there. I don't know.
It's weird. No, like libertarians can fit it. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But
they can fit between or on one side.
Yeah. He actually started off with this quote from Joanne Freeman. The Borah quote came after this, but in the 1830s to 1860s, there was 70 violent altercations on the House and Senate floor. That's recorded. There were more, but that was what they had recorded. And
our system used to be a lot more theatrical and emotional than what it is now.
No, and this is new. Like, you don't see people being beaten on the House floor. You just see nobody there. You know? Like, I don't have to show up,
They're punching a vote and then leaving again.
He references this 1950 article from the American Political Science Association. It showed up in the New York Times. Like, this was a big deal. A lot of people saw it. Saying they called for a more polarized two-party system, that people couldn't tell the difference between the parties, and so they were bad.
Okay, so in the 1950s, we have parties that are just because you're a Republican doesn't mean you're a conservative. It means that you won the Republican. That's it.
We had conservative Democrats, we had liberal Republicans, and vice versa. And you had some Republicans who were more liberal than the most left-leaning Democrat. Like, that's just how it was, And
so that article was saying we need to be more polarized. Like, one of these parties needs to choose a direction and go there.
Yeah, the article basically boiled down to most Americans, the best way to enact their values is to, when we think about all there is to vote about, the environment, economical decisions to be made. Do we support the poor? Do we cover people who can't cover their health insurance?
What does safety nets
do we
look
expand education? Do we cut back on the deficit? Like all these things. There's no one alive today, or probably ever will be, that can have a very educated guess on, or educated vote on all those things.
Yeah.
So they were saying the best thing is to have ideological parties driven solely on that, and
some principles,
right? And then the voter can decide which one they trust more to enact their personal values.
Okay.
So I don't have to think about these things. I'll just vote for the R or the D, and then they'll fill in all the slots.
Okay, now hold on. So we didn't talk about this beforehand, and I don't think it's in the book.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at like Parliament,
Mm-hmm.
or if you look at Australia, so in Australia you vote for a party.
Yeah.
They can change the person in office overnight.
Yeah.
You find out the next day, I have a different prime minister.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's the same party.
Right.
I don't know if that's the same in England. I don't know.
I think it is. I think it is in England. A lot of like the British parliamentary monarchy type systems, they're all kind of the same way. Like Canada, I think they're a little bit like that too. But
but is that kind of like what they were wanting to see? Is more of a
but
you're voting for an idea more than you're voting for a person?
I don't know, because like in those countries, a lot of the times those parties won't win a majority to form a government. So they have to compromise with some other parties. It's not like a two-party system in those places.
And that's how that works. The party gets voted in and they form a government.
Well, and that was what there was another political theorist at the time who said that America our government is not built on the idea that the majority can rule. It's the idea that the systems that were put in by the founding fathers is to frustrate the majority and create compromise for everyone to win. And so I forget his name, but he was saying that a two-party system in that type of governments it's destined to fail. It's only going to create like a stalemate, which we kind of see now. I mean, it's become worse and worse. But just some examples, like Nixon is a Republican. You listen to you ask any Democrat now, and they'd be like, "Oh, he's the worst guy in the world." He created the EPA. Like the environment is like a Democrat.
But he was probably pro-life.
Well, no, I mean he might have been. He might not have been. He was on record saying, I believe this. I'll have to double check, but I think I remember an interview where he was saying that was a personal decision, that the government has nothing to do with that. And that was, I mean, he was a more liberal Republican. He was on the left.
We talked about it when we talked about UBI, and both of us accidentally decided.
Nixon came up with this.
That was Nixon.
He
pushing
said,
that
"Hey, we've got
in the 60s.
a need for a basic income." Like that was a Republican idea. Another Republican idea was a medical system that was to the left of the Obamacare or Affordable Care Act. He's quoted saying the
with
strength
individual mandate. And,
you stole my swing at the end.
Did
there,
I'm
no,
sorry.
I
Are you
wanted,
upset by that?
a little bit, yeah. No, but Nixon said that the strength of the American political system is that we've avoided violent swings in admin from one extreme to another because in both parties there's been room for a broad spectrum of opinion.
Okay.
So that meant a pro-life person could find a home in the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. A large government person could find a home in either one. Because there was just so much infighting in the parties, or not really infighting, but like compromise going on in the party, so that when it came to the House floor, we've already been struggling with these ideas in our own party. So when we come to the table to enact policies, like, let's just do this again, but we're already trained in it, you know?
They've already talked that through. Well, and that's something that's missing.
That's what Ezra said, that parties were meant to be the filter of our divisions, not represent our divisions. Because now we're divided on abortion or healthcare or the economy. And so we're not having those conversations amongst ourselves. We're saying, I'm going to vote for you. You go to Washington and fight.
So in 1940, the statement, he just votes party line, probably someone would look at you and say, "What? I don't understand what you mean by that."
No, there was a study that came out like in the last 5 years that hard partisans, like, you know, and political junkies from the 50s to the 80s had less idea what separated the parties as people who were like politically illiterate in America today. Like,
okay,
if that makes sense. So the guys who were like breathe political news nonstop.
Yeah.
They, if you ask them what was the difference between like a certain policy, they're like, you know, Republicans. I don't know really who has, you know, the biggest voice on that.
It was more about the idea than it was the party, right? I mean, well, I don't know. See, now this makes me think, and I'm venturing from the book, so
that's fine.
Rein me back in when you need. But
that's the whole point.
Yeah, but this makes me think that like during that era, when you weren't necessarily a conservative if you were a Republican, you weren't necessarily a liberal if you were a Democrat.
No.
So like, considering that, I was more voting for a person that I trusted, that I thought that I kind of lined up, just a person. I was just voting for a person twice.
Absolutely.
I was voting for them in a primary, and then in a general election, I was again given a chance to make a choice on a person.
Yeah.
But now I'm not really given that. I'm given a chance to make a vote on a party.
Yeah, they called them ticket splitters
ideology
too. Like, and this was a point. It kind of brought back in, like in the 80s and before, you could determine a person's like congressional or House vote and their presidential vote. Like the rate of them lining up was like a 0.57. So little more than half.
Yeah.
Now it's like a 0.9.
Oh, wow.
So like we don't see ticket splitters anymore. You could vote for, you know, Nixon in whatever year he ran, and then vote for a Democrat from your, you know, congressional section. And
but we don't see that. We see people, if you're voting for a Republican president, you're probably voting Republican.
I just look for the letter by their name and click it. You know? Like that's what it is now.
Yeah. Well, and is that because we don't want to be informed? And maybe we can choose to not be informed?
Well, that's what it is. That was the argument back then, is like there's no way for everyone to be informed, so we're better off in a system to where we just vote by party.
By party.
Yeah. And that might make sense in like a parliamentary government where like no party has the supermajority.
Yep.
So you have to compromise with some other parties.
Yep.
But that's not how it works here.
That's not here.
So it just, I don't know if this is accurate, but I would imagine some of those guys writing that were looking to, you know, the British Parliament and were saying, hey, we'd like something like that rather than
but we weren't diverse in parties enough.
No.
I mean,
it was like the Holy Roman Empire. I don't know. That was basically like where Germany is now. Yeah. Like you had hundreds of governments, and a name would change. You could never really keep track of who's who or who had power or what voice to listen to, because leaders came and gone, and it was all a mess. And then, you know, you had the unification and all that stuff. But that's kind of like what our government was back then. It was you had section of guys, and you'd have liberal Democrats working with liberal Republicans to enact something, and then vice versa, or the liberal Democrats and the conservative Democrats came together to do something, you know?
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's crazy. A lot of people like to point back, and he addresses this, when George Washington opposed, like, partisanship.
Yeah.
They see that as him going against the party system in America. But if you look back at the speech, like, it was a partisan speech. Like, we had the Federalists and then the Democratic Republicans. Yeah. And the Federalist was him, and then Alexander Hamilton was his successor. Yeah. And so Jefferson was talking against, like, Thomas Jefferson and Madison, saying, hey,
Washington was talking against
Yeah,
them. Yep.
don't come against us as a unified opposition party. Like,
Yep.
I'm totally against that. But it
Yeah.
like from the start, like we had
Yeah.
it's just how things are going to be.
Yeah.
But the fact that they've become so solid rather than fluid,
Yeah.
seems to be what has put us in this position.
we had parties change. I mean, over 200 years of our history.
Oh yeah,
Right, 200, more than 200 now, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
We're
it's
getting
been a
up
while.
there.
Yeah,
Holy cats.
almost 3.
I remember. Yeah. So over all these years of our government, we've had different political parties move in and out.
Yep.
We haven't always been the two same parties.
Yeah.
Over all that time. So are we gonna see a time come where we get a third party that comes on the scene that is as strong as the other two, or are we destined to stay in our lanes?
I think in the current system, the current first past the post victory, you know, it's always going to be two people, you know, or two
parties.
two people running, two parties, and that's just, I don't see, unless there's some policy changes, then I just see that we are in the inevitable place that we are at because of the way that the system's built up right now.
Yeah.
I think. I could be wrong.
But it is simpler. I'm going to throw that out.
Oh, yeah.
It is easier to just vote for an ideology, to just line up with
These
somebody.
are my values.
Yep.
You go do it.
But are we seeing now, I'm feeling like, so Donald Trump's our president.
Mm-hmm.
I don't much like him as a leader. I'm not interested in him leading. Okay. He might have the same views as me, he might not. I don't know, but I'm not interested in him leading. But that's my choice. And I've got to compromise on everything else.
Yeah.
I don't like a lot of the interaction he's had with women. I don't like that he comes off as quite dumb when he speaks. Like, there's a lot of things I don't like about him.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You're laughing because you're like, Luke, you're in trouble.
I don't have to say anything.
But there's a lot of things I don't like about him. But he's but he's a Republican guy, right?
Yeah, I mean,
so if I'm a Republican, he's my guy. Unfortunately, that's the horse we got. So stick some steroids in him and let's try to win the Kentucky
Smack the
Downs.
pony,
Like, I mean,
finish the race. Yeah.
I mean, that's what you got. And you heard people saying that in the last election. You know
Well,
what I
and
mean?
a lot of the-
we can't have Hillary.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
because
We'll
there were
vote
so
for him because we
many
can't have Hillary. Hillary's
judges to be judges spots to be filled. I think
Yeah.
I read I think it was this week. Like, he just confirmed the Senate just confirmed his 200th judge.
Yeah.
And that's that are lifetime appointments.
Which
so
is exactly, I mean, that was the big push. That's why we
what
wanted. That's what we wanted.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. So,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
I voted third party in the last one, but I knew he was going to lose. In Tennessee, anyway.
That was a good rebel.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what to do. I mean, we're steamrolling towards another election. I'm not, and I guess I don't know where we are on time.
I don't know.
We're getting towards the end. But we're rolling towards an election where I'm going to have a choice of candidates. There'll be some third party. There's always some third parties in Tennessee. I don't know if that's true everywhere, but there always is here, a couple of them anyway. So should I just chalk it up as it's hopeless?
Yeah,
do I have to vote?
It feels like us reading through this book and saying how good it used to be. And we'll dive into how untrue the golden age of politics at that time, unmask the ugliness that was there too in some future episodes. But I think it's important to understand where we came from and how we got here in order to formulate some solutions to move forward.
Yeah.
And have some new ideas and realize that things haven't always been this way. Someone had a new idea that got us here.
Yeah.
And that'll be like the first thing we talk about next episode.
Yeah.
But like, we are always progressing to something different than what it was before. If you're living here in Tennessee, likely your grandparent or great grandparent was a Democrat at one point.
Yeah.
Like we had a one party system down here.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the same Democrats that we see today. Like
was,
it's all, and we'll dive real deep into that next week. But I want to pull up a few quotes.
Okay. Yep. Hit us with them.
You brought me a Reagan quote, a few months ago.
Yeah.
Here's a Reagan quote that I actually was like, okay.
Okay.
So he signed an immigration law that would probably make Republicans just scream today.
But he's the best president we've ever had.
Well,
and he is
okay,
a
keep that in mind.
I'm just.
Here's the quote he said, and
Yep.
this is from Reagan. Whatever, take it or leave it. He said, "I believe in the idea of amnesty for those who put down roots and who have lived here, even though they may have entered here illegally sometimes." That was Reagan.
Was that in his presidential run, or was he running for governor?
Didn't he win twice? No, that was in his. No, that was after he signed in his immigration law as president.
Gosh.
So either that was in his first term or his second term.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's when it was turning.
That's
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was when we were at the end of the golden age, where you saw people working across party lines. Yeah. And I don't want to just dump on the Republicans because the Democrats are the same way. Bill Clinton, he put in the biggest free trade agreement act up until that point.
Yeah.
He was famous for fighting the left wing of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
He slashed welfare to balance the budget.
Yeah.
And his second term, he declared that the era of big government is now over. Like he was going to slash it.
Yeah.
Which party would you hear that from?
Yeah, the Republican Party.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's what it is.
So
right?
it's it was looking back at Medicare from FDR.
Yeah.
In that vote, that private or socialized an entire demographic from private insurance and medical, all that economy, free trade stuff. It had 70 Republican votes on it in the House, and then 13 in the Senate. And then you had Obamacare, who was built on the Republican idea of the individual mandate.
Yep.
And it had 0 Republican votes. And Ezra Klein was one of the guys who was covering this as it was happening.
Yeah.
And he said, I can tell you, they would have done anything, caved on anything to get 1 Republican vote. And it wasn't going to happen. Because there's no fluidity in it. It's just straight down the line. This is a Democratic idea. We're done with it. We're Republicans. Even though it was a Republican, it was based on Romney's.
Yeah.
From Massachusetts, was that it?
Or New Hampshire.
I think it was Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he was governor. It was a copy paste of that.
Yeah.
And then they were like, no, we don't like it. It shouldn't be there federally. The individual mandate is a stupid idea. It's like, but you guys came up with it. Yeah, but we don't want to do it now.
But that's, and I think that's the...
And it happens on both sides,
But that kind of thinking shuts down conversation.
Yeah.
The kind of conversation that helps you understand something better is shut down when you go into it knowing I'm voting this direction regardless of what's said.
Yeah.
Regardless of how you compromise, regardless of how we can change this, I'm voting this way.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
No.
And that's shutting down the conversation. And
I like the idea of, being a liberal voter and finding a home in the Republican Party, or being a conservative and finding a home in, anytime that is the standard, you're going to have way more people like, well, you're a Republican, I'm a Democrat, but we believe in a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
And for the most part, we really do, I think. I can have a conversation with most Republicans around here and be like, I agree with you on this stuff and this stuff. But I'm not allowed to compromise here because, we've got 1 or 2 issues that this is what divides us.
I have to take the lesser of the 2 evils.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got to just agree with everything else.
Yep.
Because I don't know how many times I've seen, a Democrat push something out and it's like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
But what am I going to do? They call it we'll end with this, but it was called negative partisanship. So you're more likely to vote against the other person than for yourself. If you ever have voted for someone and said, I don't really like this, but that other party is going to destroy the country, then you've participated in negative partisanship. And that is what has got us to this point here. Yeah. Rather than hey, let's go shape some stuff.
Yeah, let's vote
differently.
Let's vote for a positive, what we want to see, not what we don't want to see.
Yeah.
Don't vote against what you don't want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you. And I don't feel like that mindset moves you forward at all.
I mean, it's
playing
a stalemate.
defense all the time.
It's exactly it.
You know what I mean? That's not going to work.
It's a team sport mentality.
Team sport. Yep.
If you win, that means somehow I'm losing. Or
Yep.
if you score a point, then I've given up a point.
Yeah.
Rather than, hey, let's figure out how we can do this.
How do we both win?
Yeah,
How do
exactly.
we both win?
I can. Everyone wins.
Yeah.
What was that? The win-win-win.
The win-win-win.
You win, I win. No, you and you win, and then I win by somehow contributing.
By helping you guys win. It's a win-win-win.
Win-win-win. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that one. That's my favorite.
Thank you, Michael Scott.
Yes.
All right, so we're at the end of this episode, and if you haven't picked up the book, Ezra Klein's "Why We're Polarized" is the name of it.
Yes.
Why We're Polarized. Pick it up, take a listen to it along with us. We're going through it again. We've read it once, but we're going to go through it again.
And it sounds heavy. Maybe if I was reading it,
there's a lot of data in it.
There's a lot
He's
of data.
data driven. He's a journalist.
But the data is eye-opening, because we hear people say, well, this, this and this and this. But if you look at the numbers they pull up, and it's like, holy cow. Yeah. How do you argue with that? And it just shows us how off the rails we are right now. Like, this is not how it was envisioned or where we're supposed to be, but we're here. So how do we get out of it?
Yeah. So for the next few weeks, at least, more than that probably.
Yeah.
But we'll be talking about this book, and we'll be talking about politics. I mean, that'll be a theme. We'll bleed into other ideas.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, it's an election year.
It's an election year.
This is what most of our conversations are going to center around.
Yeah.
And I think it's great for us to look at our history and come into our conversations with people that we either respect or strangers with like an air of sobriety in the conversation, you know?
I mean, also coming up soon, the football season will be coming back.
Yeah.
And
maybe.
Yeah. If it does,
yeah,
we will definitely be talking some football. I can't imagine. We have conversations.
We haven't started.
Gosh,
did we have so we started the podcast right after our fantasy league ended. So
yeah.
I think that's why we did it. It was just because we're so bored.
Yeah. We got to do something.
Yeah. Can't crap talk anymore.
But I think we'll see other stuff bleed back in, but we will be talking politics next few weeks, because I mean, and it's on all of our minds. If you're over 18 and you're listening to this podcast, I hope you're going to vote. And so I hope you're thinking about these things, and I hope you're jumping in conversations with people, not grabbing an ideology and just sticking with it. I hope you're asking the question, how do I feel about these things? How do I feel about other people? How do I feel about the disenfranchised? How do I feel about illegal immigrants? Not how does your party feel about illegal immigrants, but how do you feel? Like, do you want to love people? Yeah. All right.
I found my Reagan quote.
You
man.
did, yeah.
No, yeah.
Hold it over.
I mean, you're absolutely. I hate to derail that. You are going on a great spot, but yeah, that's kind of what we emphasize here.
Yeah.
Is the looking out for the least of these. How do my politics feed into that?
It's group discussion. How do we make each other better by talking about it? But it's group discussion leading to like personal decision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is.
Oh, it's absolutely, yeah.
And I think that's why I like it.
Mm-hmm.
As a conservative, of course, I like personal decision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
well, you've got me there. Like, I've got it. I believe in personal decision.
Yeah.
But because I'm, because I'm on
because
the other
you're a
side,
socialist.
then, yeah. So obviously, no,
of course
I
not.
don't believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't do that, and that's what this place is about. That's what Be Good People is.
Feels
about.
like we're frozen, and we're trying to light a fire just to thaw out some stuff. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. So that's what we're all about here, and we thank you for joining us. One of the things we rolled out last week was a Patreon account with Podbean.
Yeah, we definitely did that.
Yeah, we definitely did that. I let Curtis know right after we did that. I let him know. Right after I let you know, I let him know.
That you're probably going to be mad at me for this, but it's already live, so that was the text.
That was the text, right? You're probably not going to like this. But no, we started a Patreon account because we want to expand what we're doing here, and we want to keep doing it. And so we started a Patreon account. If you want to jump in this conversation, you're already jumping into comments. You're already sending us messages individually. We want to expand that. Maybe we have one of the things that I'd like to see us do is some like thinker retreat type things or thinker events where we get together and we have these discussions with more people. You know, we pick some topics and have these discussions. I think that would be great. I would love that.
Yeah.
And so to fund that, to fund everything we're doing, we would love it if you jumped in as a patron. We've got 2 new ones this week.
Yeah.
Already. Yeah. My good friend, Jack Nicholas Baldwin is what he goes by now.
That's awesome.
He
That's a strong name.
actually just wrote a kid's book, and you know I love this about Jack. He wrote a kid's book. The audiobook's out already, but he wrote a kid's book, and the illustrated version's coming out soon. But it's good. I listened to the book. I'm excited for it for my kids.
That out.
But anyway, Jack started supporting us. Jack, thank you so much for being a part of what we're doing here. We hope to include you in the conversation as we go. Hopefully, you'll come to an event coming up. And then who else?
Coop,
our buddy Coop.
Big Coop.
Yeah,
we love you, Coop. Thank you.
We love you for jumping in with us.
Yeah,
being
absolutely.
a patron, being a supporter. And actually, Coop supported us at a level that lets him be a guest on the show.
Coop will be here at some point.
So
we're excited about it.
He gets to guide discussion a little bit. So
yeah,
we're excited.
Really?
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Hopefully, we'll make it about football. And you know, who's his team? He's a Patriots fan, right? No,
I think he's more. He's like an Ohio State guy, right?
Oh yeah,
or is he a Michigan guy?
Yeah, I think he's a Michigan fan.
He's
That's
Michigan
right.
Guy.
Coop's a Michigan fan.
I remember going to his house and seeing a Michigan, and I was like, I didn't know you liked them. He was like, yeah, you know, it's just they're my people.
And he has now stopped supporting us. No, Coop is a big Ohio State fan.
Yeah,
go Buckeyes. But if you want to support us, if you want to be a part of that, you can go. We're going to put the website down here to do it because it's really long and annoying. It's like patron.podbean.com/begood. Actually, that is exactly what it is.
Wow.
And it's written down here.
Still write it down there, though.
Yeah, we'll still write it down there. But we would love for you to jump in with us. You can jump in as low as $1 or $2 a month.
Yeah, everything helps.
Yeah, anything helps and gets you involved. We've also got patron exclusive content we're going to start rolling out this week. And so if you are a patron with us, there'll be some exclusive content we have out that's videos, audio recordings, things like that. And so please jump in with us. But thanks for joining us this week in this discussion. We hope we get to converse with you in comments below.
Yeah,
or
please
in text messages and
engage.
Direct messages.
Yeah.
We'd love to talk to you some more.
We'll see you guys next week.
Adios. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed the discussion here, and if you did, go ahead and click that like button. That helps us out. Also, if you're not a subscriber, you should be. If you subscribe and hit the bell, then you get a notification every time we post new content. That way you can stay up on all the discussions we're having. If this conversation resonated with you, maybe share it with a friend over on social media. And also, we've got some other videos, so feel free to check those out and join in anywhere.